Run to Old Navy to save up to 50% off summer's most stylish dresses, shirts, and shorts for the family. But you better hurry. At up to 50% off, your favorite styles are going fast. And you should too. Run to Old Navy now. Valid 7/5 to 7/13. Select styles only.
Blog Talk Radio.
Hi, and welcome to Conscious Talk Radio, and I'm your host, Linda Summers, and these shows are about relationships and all that encompasses. And the guest experts on the show will be providing you with information as to how you can become more connected with yourself. And today's topic is the importance of being in right relationship with self, others, and source with Eva Fernandez. But before we bring her on board, I just want to give you a little bit of information about her. Eva is MS, LMFT, I'm not quite sure what that is. We'll find out from her what that means, an intuitive empowerment coach and psychotherapist. And with that, I'd like to welcome Eva to the show. Hi, Eva.
Hi, how are you, Linda? Thank you for having me in the show.
Oh, you're welcome, and thank you for joining us all the way from the East Coast, so we appreciate that.
Yes, it's really hot today. I'm sort of very much appreciating, the summer. And I told myself I was not going to complain when it's hot, humid, and I'm sweating because the last couple of winters have been really bad. I mean, chill to the bone. And I was like, okay, when it's hot and sweaty, I'm just going to soak it in, I'm going to appreciate it, and I'm not going to complain about it, even if my hair gets frizzy.
Right? I know. Wherever you're at. When here it's really hot, we complain. When it's cold, we complain. So we try not to do that because we don't live in great places. So awesome. Well, thank you for that. But I wanted to ask you, so what does the MS mean and the LMFT? What do those mean?
Well, I am a licensed psychotherapist and relationship coach. Well, licensed, empowerment coach, sorry. But I work a lot with relationships. But the L stands for licensed marriage and family therapist. And that's my other profession, as well as being a coach. So as a therapist, I work a lot with, couples, individuals, really standing around their relationship issues, in their families, in their relationship with themselves, or relationship with other people in their life, coworkers. So, at the end of the day, it's really about relationships. And as a marriage and family therapist, I'm trained, the theory and how I was trained was really to look at when people come in with whatever kind of ailment, challenges, looking at them through the lens of relationship, because that's, at the end of the day, we're relational beings, and our family and our community plays a huge part on how we see ourselves, how we show up in the world, who and what we are, and it's all interconnected. So
absolutely. Yeah. And we're always in constant relationship with something or someone, and that's why I really transitioned the show into about relationships, because it is so important, first and foremost, and we're going to dive into that as well, is your connection with yourself, because I believe that, and I'm sure you do too, that your connection with yourself is a direct correlation and correct connection to others and to life and to source. So, so I think it's just really important. So, and having that background is awesome as well, because then you really have the training, and being an intuitive empowerment coach really is it's very expansive as well. So I love that.
I know. I use all my senses, even my third eye. My third eye.
Really?
But,
oh my gosh, I love that. Well, this will be good, because people will want to know, how do you do what is it really, an intuitive empowerment coach? So you say you see people. So how does that look?
Well, when I used to, before I got into, I was a therapist. I worked in IT. I did all kinds of jobs. I studied criminal justice and psychology. I wanted to be, work in the law. I really was interested in family law and really working with a lot of, youth and just people in general. And I think just sort of growing up in Brooklyn, which is where I grew up, in 6 kids, Latino family, poor working class family. And I was thinking about this before the show, and I was just like, how do I get into this work? And a lot of it, everybody, we all have our struggles and our challenges, and, our culture, our economics, our class all plays a role in how we sort of see each other, how do we relate to it ourselves, how do people see us. But for me, it was really hard growing up in Brooklyn when you come from a really poor family, and you have people telling you you're not going to make it. You have everything against you. So I think one of the strategies that I adopted very early on was I was the wild, rebellious kid. I mean, I was like non-traditional. My mom always yelled at me because I didn't want to, I didn't want to be home cooking and cleaning. I wanted to be one of the boys, like jumping, playing with the rock, playing with the, whatever, kick the can in the street. But, I was a girl, and I had to be home, and that was sort of kind of my role. And we just kind of get pinned down to being a certain way. But when you grow up in a certain kind of culture, subculture, you hear messages. And for me, I was always like rebellious. Like I was going to prove people that, I was not going to be a statistic or, that I was going to sort of kind of break away from the box and stuff like that. So that's sort of what I've always used to sort of propel me forward. But that doesn't work for everybody else. My mom, she tried everything to tame me. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I used to start, like, little wars in my family. Like, I got the girls, there's 3 girls and 3 boys in my family, and I would get my sisters to, like, pick it, how unfair it was.
Oh, my God.
So, like, no, girls, so I used sort of, like, and, over time, I mean, you sort of take your own path and your own journey, and eventually I ended up working in corporate. I sort of didn't really want to know what I wanted to do, but I followed the money. I was making a lot of money. At the time, I was living in California, and it was like the tech boom was happening back there in the 1998 and 2000. So I took advantage of that, but at the end, I was so unhappy. I was unfulfilled. And, I mean, I said to myself after working in IT for like 7 to 10 years, I was just like, okay, I have 35, 40 more years of working. Do I really want to be doing this? And I was like, no. But what I did love doing was helping people. Like, when I worked with engineers and, those quality assurance guys, the server guys, IT. But what I did enjoy was helping them, like, solve their problems. Why were they stuck? We were being meetings and they were overcommit to things. And, as a project manager, you're responsible for everything. So that's sort of what I remember doing that. And then I just sort of put it all together, and I always knew that I wanted to do coaching early on, but when coaching came out, it was really in its infancy, and I have to admit I was one of these people, I like credentials. I was like, I needed to be validated that I can get a job, and my program was the same way, so I sort of put it to the side, but I still wanted to work with people. I took a year off, and I really watched a lot of Oprah, a lot of soul searching, and I came up with my own process and how I figured it out, like how I wanted to live my life. And then I sort of put it all together, and I went back to school. I became a therapist. And then the intuition part was part of it. I used to go to the school in San Francisco. I took a lot of meditation class, really grounding. I did a lot of that. A lot of it was really clairvoyant, intuition sort of thing. And I was like, I wonder how I can combine psychotherapy, intuition work, energy work, consciousness. I mean, I read all kinds of stuff on religion, all of it. I read everything, and coaching. So I'm sort of still trying to work it out. That's sort of how I ended up here, like wanting to really empower people to sort of like live from their own truth, how to be authentic to themselves, how to be in integrity with themselves, and really the importance of community and connection, because I think we try to live our lives as if we live in our own little bubble in a vacuum. And you hear so many people talking about, and it's really more of a Western culture about, doing things on your own. You don't need anybody else. You just got to, pick yourself up by the bootstraps and just sort of go. And we live this life. But if you really look at it, I know I'm talking too much. Slow me down, Linda.
No. No, I do want to go back to something that you said, though, because I think it's really important how we actually really do. You talked about your role, like what your role was in your family or in your culture, right? And how your mother, you said that your mother was trying to tame you. I feel that there's probably a lot of listeners that can relate to that, just in what is our role, right? That we have this, as a daughter in a family, this is her role in the family, and as a son, this is his role. Then it becomes that we feel that that's our role in life, and then, or if our parents, we're trying to sort of rebel, but yet the parents are trying to tame us, where you're saying, no, freedom and allowing one to be themselves, and that people don't have to be set in these, and to realize what is your role really in the bigger perspective. And I think that's where we'll probably dive into, is talking about the self and what it is, the right relationship, which is a really key question, is when you talk about right relationship with self, others, and source. And, I kind of, that's just, to me, that's very fascinating. So, no, I think this is really interesting because it really shows where you came from, right, and how you were unhappy and unfulfilled and realized what you really love to do and came into this. So it's awesome because the people listening, I think to have them hear that, that they have this hope and they know that they can do this too.
Oh, absolutely. And it's not easy. I don't have the answer or the one formula or anything. Everybody's on their own path and their own way to figure it out, and we sort of have to honor that. And, and sort of like people have to sort of figure it out. And I always sort of myself as a coach, as a therapist, like I'm your thinking partner. I'm a guide with you, and people come into your life, and we all plant seeds, and we all help you along your way in your journey. It's not just one person, one theory, one coach, whatever. There is no answer because we're unique human beings. But I think in order to be successful in this life, in order to have what you say that you want in your life, whether it's like, fulfilling relationships, money, monetary, finding your purpose, health, well-being, freedom, and peace, like you have to be grounded. You have to live your life from a grounded center. And I think in today's society, we're just all over the place. We're so disconnected. We don't really have a sense of ourselves, and you see that a lot. And we've lost that, right? We've lost the community. Right. And what we're seeing, and at least in terms of couples and relationships, as working from that therapist hat, I see a lot of couples that come in, and it's become like two-person community, right? Right. We rely on that other person to be everything and all for us, the friend, the lover, the partner, the parent, the mother, you know what I mean? It's too much. And we forget about community, and we've lost that. It does, I know it sounds cliche, but it does take a village. You know what I mean? We need the importance of other people in our life. It just can't be you by yourself or by others. And when I was talking about being in right relationship with yourself, with others, it's being in integrity with yourself. It's being an authentic self. It's being true to yourself. It's about finding that part of you that you sort of self-abandoned. Because honestly, I think we've always self-abandoned. In one way or another, we have disempowered ourselves. We've abandoned who we are in order to really, at the end of the day, to be connected to other people.
Yeah.
Right? So does that make sense?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. So I think that people avoid being fully connected to themselves and to others or source in like automatic and predictable ways. Like you see some people that one of the most common ways that you see people doing is that when they abandon themselves, they're isolated, they're protected, they're defended. Maybe they say that they're connected, but they feel sort of empty. They don't feel connected. They feel like there's something is missing. And when you see that somebody is like that, they have bypassed relationship with other people. They don't really have any kind of spirituality. And I'm not saying that you have to have spirituality, but you have to have something that grounds you to the bigger purpose in life. Because what is our purpose of being here? I know we're getting into religion, and I know this is a spiritual sort of show in there, at least a little bit of mixture in there. But, so how do we get in right relationship with ourselves? We need to start really, taking a step back and reevaluating who we are. How do we came to be? How do we define ourselves? How other people see us, and sort of get back to the basics of ourselves. And it really starts with, really this is not even like quick fix anything, right? Because I'm not into quick fix anything at all. Like I do deep transformational work. Like that's the kind of work that I do. And it's not to say I don't work with people on short goals, but I think at the end of the day, you really have to put some personal development and really start reflecting on yourself. And how do you start giving up who you are how do you start self-abandoning yourself? And I think people want to feel powerful, and they want to be happy, and they want to be authentic, and they want to be connected, but there's this sort of dialectical that in order for me to be happy, it becomes this dialectical with either me or them, right? In order for me to have me, I have to give up something. In order for me to have connection, I must give up something of myself. So that's sort of one way. Then you have people that self-abandon in other ways, right? They give up all their power. They're subservient. They subjugate themselves. They give themselves and their powers to other people. And then they're sort of left kind of feeling undeserved, disconnected, angry, but they have also no connection to divine. So everything is for other people. You live for other people, for their validation. These are the people that look externally for others to validate who they are. And that's also, it saddens me. At the end of the day, I feel sad because they're not connected to themselves at all. And then the third way is, I think we've seen this before. The third strategy that people sort of how they avoid, I was talking about avoiding power and possibility, is when they sort of, shortcut to divine. And these are the people that, they don't focus on themselves. They attempt to gain personal enlightenment and avoiding connection with other people or certain kind of people, and they use spiritual connection as protection from others.
Solitude.
Right? Solitude. And you see that in the old spiritual story, like, the Buddha left his wife and family, Moses left his wife and family, all these stories that you see that people took the spiritual path, they left behind. And I'm just wondering, well, why is that?
Right.
So, anyway, I sort of went on a little bit of a tangent. So I believe that in order, you have to have all three, right? You have to have, you have to have a relationship with yourself where it's authentic, you're in integrity, you know who you are, what you want, you understand your core values, you're clear on who and what you are, and you're not afraid, and you're willing to take of losing some connections in order to be true to yourself. And it's sort of a balance, and this is sort of more of a psychological development, because that is part of sort of growing up in this realm in our world right now. It's like, how do you individually be who you are, find your voice, yourself, your personality, your values, but still maintain a connection to your family. Because, oftentimes, there is this sort of like this struggle. How can you have both? But it's a spiritual process, it's a psychological process, it's a development that we have to go through. And we sort of see that with the teenage, right, where we sort of like push away our parents' values, we do whatever we want, we try and go find ourselves, and then we sort of come back when we sort of mature. And I think, like, honestly, I was thinking about this, I was like, our society, at least in Western culture, we're like in the teenage phase. We're like rebellious, we're egocentric, it's all about what we want, it's all about pleasuring the immediate pleasure, and not really thinking about the longer term, like the mature,
Yeah, definitely not thinking about a community and really connecting with one another. But you also mentioned about when all three of these are aligned, when relationship to self, to others, and source, there is an unlimited possibility in personal power. Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah. It's sort of like every connection is a pathway to the other connection, right? You need to be, in order for you to have authentic and meaningful relationship and go into any kind of relationship, you have to stand in your power. You need to know your values, your truth, right? Because in all these things, a lot of possibility exists. We need other people in our lives. We can't conduct business, find clients, build successful business if we can't be, honest and in integrity, be our true self, be authentic, have boundaries, because people lack boundaries, and I think that's a big problem here, like, especially in the workforce. So when you're able to really have a healthy relationship with others, that sort of really empowers you, to do what you need to do in a way that feels grounded and in a way that feels right, that's sort of right for you. Does that make sense? I don't know if I just lost my train of thought. So that's sort of, we need that foundation, right? You need to be healthy in yourself, healthy in who you are, being clear, being unapologetic, standing in your ground, standing in your truth, sort of reclaiming your power and noticing, where do I disempower myself and why do I disempower myself? Why do I subjugate myself? Why do I procrastinate? Why do I keep saying yes to people and, doing things that I don't want to do when in reality I want to do something else?
Right.
Why do I stand back and let people walk all over me, agree to things that I don't want to. You have to self-reflect, and you don't necessarily always, there's personal development that you can do on your own, but I forgot who was the theorist that said that, you can't get out of a problem with the same mind that created it. I'm sort of like messing it up because it's paraphrasing, and I forgot who said that. Was it Einstein or I can't remember.
Yeah.
So, you need somebody to reflect, somebody to sort of help put things in perspective, and that could be anybody that you trust that is worthy of hearing your story. Now, I think when you have a connection with Source, and however that may show up for you, it could be religion, it could be spirituality, it has to be something that's bigger, because I think we can go and do all the things that we want and chase the money and chase the things, but we know at the end of the day, it's like unfulfilling. You feel empty at the end of the day, and you see this with our consumerism. We work hard and we buy that product bag or we buy that new iPad and the iPhone, and it's lost its thrill in after 5 minutes. You know what I mean? And we sort of again feel empty. We sort of feel like, well, what's missing? Because I think that part of the purpose here is for us to reconnect with a larger and to give back to our community and to give back to the world and to develop on a much higher consciousness. I don't want to get into all the religions, but you need something to ground you. And when you're grounded in a much – sorry, go ahead, Linda, because I'll keep talking.
No, because I was going to ask you, can you give us some tips on grounding? I mean, there's a lot of things out there, but is there something that's really worked for you, or do you, for people who are just beginning, or even people who are, in the middle, or even, a higher consciousness? Is there any tips you can give for grounding?
For grounding, I do, honestly, the best grounding thing that I can do, and I have to admit, I think I put this in one of my Facebook groups, was nature. Like, the fastest way to ground is, like, if you're in the city, like I live in New York City, like, I have a little piece of grass in my backyard. I honestly, when I feel anxious, distressed, overwhelmed, I literally just take off my shoes and I walk along the grass. Like, people, I swear to God, my neighbors think I'm crazy. But that really helps because you feel connected to the earth. You feel something bigger, something more connected. Just slowing your mind. I have a lot of clients that are so overwhelmed, so stressed out, and I'm like, you don't need to meditate for 45 minutes. I said, even a minute on the subway. And if you just focus and close your eyes, and it's good practice being in the city to find your center and to ground because you learn to tune out and sort of like merge with everything. I said, just close your eyes and focus on your breathing or focus on your toes. It can make a minute. Or even like I do a lot of mindfulness teaching and meditation, and it doesn't have to be, again, like crazy stuff, even just eating. When I wash the dishes, I don't have a dishwasher, which I'm unhappy about that because I hate washing dishes. But I've learned to take that hate sort of thing and be like, okay, how can I incorporate this into my life? And that's like my minute. And my ex-husband and I used to fight about who was going to wash the dishes because we sort of like, you can get lost in that moment, but still being present, like, focusing on the water and the soap sud. Or even when I take a shower, I really just try to, I love like lavender and smelling sort of oil, essential oil stuff, and I put it in my shampoos and stuff, and, and soap just to ground. And just the water hitting my back, and I just, even if it's for 1 second, 1 minute, like that's finding your space. That's grounding. And it's in that quiet, still place that you sort of really find yourself. And it's hard, and I have to say that most people don't want to find that. It's scary. Yeah. I remember the first time I started meditating in college, and I was in between that space that you read about, and I don't know if you experienced that or some of our readers, but when you hear nothing, but you hear this sort of voice, and it was so scary that I was like, remember the movie in The Matrix where the guy was unplugged? And he didn't like it, and he wanted to plug back in. And that sort of was that experience. I remember meditating for weeks and weeks and weeks. I was like, I don't feel anything. This is nothing. And then one day, I was in that sweet spot, and I was just like, oh, my God. I was just like, I noticed this separation, and it was scary, like, for that minute. And I remember, like, abandoning the meditation because I was just like, I need my mind. What am I going to think? Things are going to feel different. I went through that. It was so funny.
Wow. I love that. That's really interesting. I've never had that, so not that I can remember. I mean, I would have remembered if I had that, but I love it. And I love how you said, like, even in washing the dishes or anything like that, to really become present and to really shift your perspective and really look at, you know, the idea of how cleansing that is. And you could be cleansing yourself, of, you know, just transmuting anything. There's so many things that you can positively think about that can make that chore much more easier, you know, and get something from that. I love that.
Yeah, and then being in a right relationship with yourself, I mean, that, you know, sometimes, you know, people don't want to do the work, you know, because it's hard work. You know, when you come to therapy and you go to a coach, they're going to ask you the tough questions. We're going to put a mirror up and we're going to ask you to see yourself, that those parts of you that you have pushed to the side, that you have shunned, that you don't want to look at. Well, that's part of it. If you want to be in right relationships, it's in the dark places where the light shines. It's in the deeper, dark places where the real work is going to take place. And if you really want to have that life that you want, where it's not just, you know, based on, I don't know how to explain it, based on that, but that really deep sense of connection and peace, you know what I mean, comes with really, really stepping back and saying, okay, who am I really? Like, what am I doing here? Who am I? How did I come to be? How am I showing up for myself? Am I in integrity? Do I love myself? Where am I subjugating myself? You know, and I used to do that a lot I did that a lot with a lot of relationships, and with, you know, with my ex-husband. You know what I mean? Like, I don't need to get into that, but I mean, he's a lovely man. We have a great relationship, and we have a daughter. But I noticed how I sort of gave a lot of myself, because I was so afraid of being alone and losing that relationship. And I grew up in a family, you know, Latinos are very much like, and a lot of cultures as well, but I'm just speaking from my culture, from my experience, you know, it's just always like the family first, being connected, that's the most important thing, and you learn to sort of rely and have that, and nobody wants to lose that. So in order for us, and it's also from a very young age, you know, that we sort of carry that, like, it's scary to be alone. You know, to be alone, right? But the thing is, and this is where the higher part is, that if we sort of, I read a lot of books, you know, the Course in Miracles, and I really believe that, and that's the first thing that really resonated with me, is the illusion or the false or the error in thinking that we're alone, because we're not, you know. But we can sort of believe the ego that we're separated from our source, that, you know, we're just here and dust to dust and there's nothing more. But no, like, that's the error in thinking, that we're really not alone, that, you know, source, whatever, that we are all interconnected, that we have something much bigger. And I think that when we are in right relationship with source, that then that ability to self-abandon or stay in awful jobs or awful relationships because we're afraid of being alone sort of creates the foundation that we have the strength and, you know, the ability to find the right thing for us, because we're not really alone. You know, we're never really abandoned. God, source, life, universe has always been with us. I know I went into that.
Yeah, there's a lot of, and there's people around too. There's support groups, there's communities, and so there's absolutely. So there's so many things that are available. Yeah. And I want to go back to something. Go ahead. Oh, I was going to say, you know, you had mentioned about pushing things away and not wanting to see things, and I know from my own experiences that when we keep pushing things away that we don't want to look at within ourselves, that keeps surfacing somehow, some way. It will surface in a relationship or in another, you know, relationship. Could be not an intimate, it could be somebody in a grocery store or somebody else like that. So it's going to keep coming up until we really take a look at ourselves and really dive within and really love every part of ourselves. So I love that you mentioned that, because about going deep inside, that you really had to look inside yourself, you know. So important.
Well, when I have couples and I'm working with couples, or they're talking about, like, their partners that there's, or there's something very painful, and especially if there's something that keeps coming over like a theme, and you tend to see the themes and the patterns in people's stories. And I always say to them, I say, that's great. And I thought, how is that great? I said, because that person, your partner, whoever, is reflecting back to you something that you still need to work on. So now you know that when your partner, you know, I had this client who was talking about her partner is very gregarious, very extroverted. She's very introverted, and people love him. And when she was near him, she felt small. right? And she hated it. She felt, felt like he was sort of like stepping over her. And we explore that a lot. And I'm just like, this is something, and she's from a different culture, so, he was very Americanized. You know how we are. We're sort of like, gregarious, and we're, egocentric and all that. Not all of us, but it was really something. And I'm like, you need to embrace that. I said, because here is he shining something for you, telling you this is something that you still need to work on, and that has nothing to do with your partner other than you. Right. And we worked a lot on it, and like she has shifted that and really realized, like, what is it about her? What is it that when she's around people that are, doing their thing and just being themselves, why does it make her feel small, even though they're not doing? This man loves her, you know what I mean? So it was a really interesting paradigm shift for her to really take ownership of that.
Absolutely, I love that. Well, I want to ask you, do you have any special workshops or special offerings for the listeners? I mean, do you have anything going on, like a discovery?
Yes, I am working on one little small thing. Like, I'm so slow. I have such a busy life, and I need to get my website up, which I'm still working on it. But I'm working on this one thing, and this is it's called Reclaiming the Wild Woman. And it's all about, it's going to be all about, it's a 15-week program, and it's not like the typical stuff. Like, I don't do those self-help online stuff, even though I know some people like it. I like to be available for people, and I want to really connect with them. So it's all going to be using that book called Women That Run with the Wolves. I can't even think about it. You know what I mean? That book, Women Who Run with Wolves. It's all work based on that stuff I used to do when I was in California, and I'm just sort of like reintroducing it again. But it's about finding those dark side of ourselves that we sort of like tamed, pushed away, are doing a lot of inner shadow work. It's about reclaiming that, our instinctual and intuition, our wild, our feminine, and really using the power of stories to sort of kind of tap into that part of ourselves that we sort of like pushed to the side, right? Yes. And I remember I was talking about my mom, just that she's too wild and you're too out there and you need to be, this Latina domesticated. I was like, no, I want to run. I want to take the ball. And that creativity, that fire, that femininity, that masculinity, it's all about reclaiming that wild part, that instinctual nature, that, all of that stuff that we've lost. But I'll put up on the website and on my Facebook group and all that, and I'll have more information on that. So I'm just sort of working on that.
And I'll have all your information on the video as well, and I'll have on the website coming soon. But we'll have your email, the Facebook page, and your phone number so people can connect with you. One last question. What would be one thing that you could leave with the listeners that has really helped you on your journey?
I think it's about being honest with yourself. I don't think that we're honest. Like really just taking ownership 100% and being honest with yourself. And really cultivating that awareness and being a choice, like if you're going to at least be honest. I procrastinate because I just don't want to do it. Like, I'm honest, right? I'm being lazy about whatever it is. You know what I mean? Like, at least own it and be honest with yourself. And that's it. Like, if you're just conscious, aware, and honest with yourself, then I think then you can start making more decisions about what you really want. Conscious choice making. At least know what you're choosing and not live your life in this automatic, predictable way and just sort of like la-di-da-di-da-di and doing things and not even understanding why you're doing it. At least be present, at least be grounded, and be honest with yourself. And authentic. I mean, that's where authenticity comes in, being honest with yourself, facing the truth about who and what you are.
Yeah, I love that. Well, thank you, Eva, so much for being on the show. It's really delivering and really being who you are and doing what you're doing and helping other people to find their own personal power. So we really greatly having you here today and sharing. So thank you so much.
Thank you, and I'll talk to you soon. Take care, guys.
You're welcome. Thank you. And thanks for all the listeners out there who joined us today and the ones who will be joining us via YouTube. We thank you so much. Please don't forget to follow, subscribe, comment, and like us. And you can join me next week, July 14th, for the next show, Mindset Miracle with Brooke Turnbull. So thank you so much, and we'll see you next week. Bye.
Run to Old Navy to save up to 50% off summer's most stylish dresses, shirts, and shorts for the family. But you better hurry. At up to 50% off, your favorite styles are going fast. And you should too. Run to Old Navy now. Valid 7/5 to 7/13. Select styles only.
Shop at Vaughn's Friday through Sunday now through August 28th and earn 2 times gas reward points on purchases. Clip the weekly coupon and use at checkout, or click the coupon on Just For You. Redeem gas rewards at participating Vaughn's, Chevron, and Texaco gas stations. Maximum gas reward at participating Chevron or Texaco stations is 20 cents per gallon in a single fill-up, up to 25 gallons. Other restrictions and exclusions apply. See complete details at Vaughn's.com.